Hi guys, it's a very rainy, kind of nasty, cold day today. So I wanted to just come on and go on about diet again, of course, because I'm on the ketogenic diet, which I don't do absolutely strictly all the time. Today I had a yogurt with one of those Greek yogurts with they whip it up. It's like cheesecake. So nice. Um, but in general, recently I've been on the ketogenic diet pretty strictly. And for the most part, I was in ketosis. So ketosis is where your body uses its own body fat, which is fine. And then I was eating like Brussels sprouts and cheese and stuff like that. So I am getting calories, and your body is also using that for glucose. So it's converting that food into glucose, and then you have the fiber, which I believe in, for the rest of your body. So in the ketogenic diet, then you have different types of ketogenic. Um, I go on a kind of a low carb, but I include cruciferous vegetables for the most part, some other vegetables sometimes, lots of fiber from vegetables. I don't eat legumes, but it's not that I don't eat them. If someone gave me a bowl of bean soup, I'd eat the bean soup. And a few times I had peas when I was hungry after work. It's real college food. I literally put a whole container of peas into the microwave and loaded it up with cheese, and that is my dinner. And sometimes I put raw garlic and raw onion and raw ginger and all that with it as well, which is delish. It's actually really nice with brown sauce as well, but I don't use that much because it has sugar in it. So, um, and then I eat meat and I eat eggs and I eat cheese. A lot of my diet is cheese. I'm quite vegetarian. I used to be a full vegetarian, but I do eat meat. I mean, if I had a personal chef and I came home and someone loved a lovely fillet steak up in front of me, cooked beautifully in garlic butter, I would eat the thing. And I would have mushrooms and whatever else. So, but it's low carb, high fat, low carb. I try to have more fat. I tend to have more protein and fiber. So I'm not really good that way. And every couple of weeks I do have a bottle of wine. So I'm not like strict. I'm a bit bold. So, and the reason I do keto is because it's so good for your body on the inside. And uh, you will feel amazing mentally and physically. Mentally and physically. Unbelievable. And then if I do have a blowout, a couple of bottles of wine or whatever, I will process them really well. I drink organic red wine as my new thing, and I have found I don't get a hangover, which is brilliant. I'm not saying that you should drink wine. So I was thinking about something the other day because a woman in our neighborhood passed away. She was 104. And then I was reading through the comments on a podcast that I watched on YouTube where they were interviewing Dr. Berry, and the guy interviewing Dr. Ken Berry, who is a famous keto kind of pro guy on YouTube, but he's actually quite carnivore now, which I don't really like. But anyway, he's amazing. He's a GP, a physician in America, and he is 100% keto. He's very carnivore now. But he was being interviewed by this guy who is kind of a health guru, but doesn't necessarily agree with keto. And they're having debate about oats porridge. And of course, as always, there's someone in the comments who says, oh, my great grandmother lived till she was 106 and she ate porridge. Great. But that person is not comparing apples with apples. That woman ate porridge in a time where food was scarce, number one. I think there's a delay in this camera. But number two, she was not eating 5, 6, 7 times a day. She wasn't finishing off her night with nachos. She wasn't drinking Coke. She wasn't having biscuits all day. She was probably not insulin resistant. So she probably ate porridge in the morning and didn't eat again till 1 o'clock or maybe 3 o'clock or whenever. And then she ate at 5 o'clock, and that was it. So I replied, which I don't really like replying with negative comments, but I just said that you're not comparing apples with apples, and that's great. And if I was back in those days, the 50s, I would eat porridge, no problem, because you're not eating a whole load of other shite. You're not eating a whole load of other sugar. You're having porridge, and then you're having your lunch, which might be bacon and cabbage and potatoes, and then you're having your dinner in the evening, which is usually the fried up remains of the potatoes and the thing. But you are not spiking your insulin all day long. You're not snacking. You're not putting one biscuit in your mouth at 10 o'clock, or eating a donut, or having some biscuits, or having some healthy crackers, So some of those people may not have been insulin resistant. We don't know, but it's very likely that that woman had a very healthy diet, including porridge. I would say to anyone, if you know you're only going to eat it 3 times a day, and you're going to be out doing a bit of hard work, and you're going to be hanging out your washing or whatever that woman did, then eating porridge is fine. Have porridge. But if you're not doing that, and you are a snacker, and you're going to be hyperinsulinemic. So for me, it's not about weight loss anymore, now that I've gotten more into keto and the whole lifestyle of keto, which makes for a very happy life. So I'm not obsessively keto. I'm pretty normal. At the moment, I'm carrying a bit of extra fat because I haven't been out walking. I don't mind. It doesn't bother me. Before, I would go crazy if I put on a couple of extra pounds, because I would know it was the thin end of the wedge. It was a slippery slope. I was going to get fat. It was inevitable. Whereas now, it's not inevitable. I know that it's only part of the process. At the moment, I'm storing a bit of extra fat. I've had a few weeks of maybe a bottle of wine every now and again. Even aside from that, I was having a bit of an obsession with nuts. And I was eating probably a few too many carbs. Grant, that's life. But I'm not hyperinsulinemic. So the big thing for me is to control my insulin. And you do that by controlling your blood sugar. So after I ate the Greek yogurt, whipped up cheesecake thingy that I got in Lidl today, they're delicious, by the way, I could feel my blood sugar going up. When my blood sugar goes up, inevitably 20 minutes later, my insulin will go up. Now that's fine. I only spiked my insulin once today. And I could tell it wasn't really that. Before, I could never tell if my blood sugar was going up. But now I'm so sensitive to it that I can tell when I eat certain food that my blood sugar has gone up. So I could sense that my blood sugar had gone up a bit. I expected that there was a little bit of insulin. But I didn't actually go on for that long. And that's a good thing. But the big thing is to avoid being hyperinsulinemic. So that means not spiking your insulin over and over again. So it's very likely that a 106-year-old woman, and we don't know what her end of life was for the 106-year-old woman. I have no idea. But I'm not making a comment about that because I have no idea. But she ate her porridge, and then there was a blood sugar rush, which kept her going for the morning. And she didn't eat again until 1 o'clock. Now people are eating at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. So, sorry, they're having their porridge, and then they're going and eating again at 2 hours later. Once the blood sugar drops, and you're feeling like, I'm kind of hungry. Whereas I don't get that at all. I eat a lot of the time now, the stuff like that cheesecake thing. It's because it tastes so good, and the curiosity, it's kind of like, I haven't had it now for a few days, and I've been in ketosis because I'm peeing on the keto sticks. You can get them in the pharmacy. They're like €8 for like a 50 sticks or something, and you just pee on them. Now, some people say they're not brilliantly accurate, but if they're any bit pink, you're in ketosis. So your body's using its own body fat. So whatever you're eating then is also might be put into sugar, glucose for the blood. And that's fine. Your brain loves that the most. Ketones and glucose. Yum, yum, yum. So anyway, um, that woman was probably not eating again for a good while. So I'm not singling her out, but I'm just saying that we don't live in that world. Yeah, no matter how much you say, nobody's living like that. People are now having something to eat, then they're having another thing, and even one biscuit is enough to spike your blood sugar and spike your insulin. You'd be better off eating the whole packet of biscuits. So you'd be better off if you had, probably like that woman had, a big bowl of porridge. She wasn't adding honey to it. She wasn't adding bananas to it for the fructose. She was just having a fucking bowl of porridge, probably with water, made with water, maybe a little bit of milk at the most. That was it. She wasn't adding anything fancy to it. She wasn't adding extra fructose and glucose, which is in banana. A banana is as bad as it's sweet. The only good thing about a banana is there's some fiber in it. But if you're going to have fruit, I never eat fruit. I eat fruit because I'm protecting my liver. So I eat fruit maybe once a month. Maybe once a month. Because like if I was doing more exercise, I'd probably eat fruit once every couple of weeks. But I don't bother with fruit. And I have berries. If I'm having any fruit, it's going to be berries. And I do keep fruit in the freezer. I keep frozen raspberries, strawberries, and blueberries and pineapple. But I never really use them because of the fructose content. And I'm just protecting my liver because your liver is the only place that can process fructose. So that's it. I feel amazing all the time, mentally and physically. I would say to anyone, if you have any worries, let's say you have a parent who had dementia or cancer, like myself, my father had cancer and passed away, or had other problems, autoimmune, rheumatoid arthritis, whatever, PCOS, whatever. You need to go on keto now to stop being hyperinsulinemic. Hyperinsulinemia is what is causing a lot of these illnesses later on. And I'm not saying there's no point in dealing with them when you get them, but you don't want to get dementia. Okay, we're all going to get old. We're all going to have some kind of infirmity. I mean, you're not going to be like jumping over a fence like you did when you were, 15. That's just normal life. Having a good diet is not stopping aging. We'll leave that up to Bryan Johnson. He's doing a good job. Fair play to him. He's doing a good job. But he has a lot of supplementation. He's on a vegan diet, I know, but there is a lot of supplementation there and all the rest. So he has the time and the energy to sleep perfectly and all the rest. That's not real life for most people. And good luck to him. I think it's amazing. I do follow him on YouTube. Bryan Johnson is his name, Bryan. He's doing a kind of a health protocol. He's managed to get his body and system down. I think he's 47 or 48. He's gotten his body and system down to the age of, I think it's like 27. And then parts of his body, including down below, is down to as good as an 18-year-old or something like that. Anyway, who knows? But I mean, he's pretty honest guy, but you still never know. He's still a salesman at the end of the day, in some ways. But I do admire him and I do follow him because he has value to add and his meals are fabulous. The vegan meals they're gorgeous. That's really my kind of food. Black lentils, broccoli, all that kind of stuff. But living in the house I'm living in, I probably wouldn't get away with serving up black lentils and dry broccoli with olive oil poured all over it and a little bit of grated dark chocolate on top of it. I'm probably not going to get away with that. But it's, oh my God, if I lived like he does on his own in a nice house with a chef, absolutely, give it to me. I would be on his protocol. I would be getting everything done, no problem. So that's the ideal. That's one end, the thick end of the wedge. But the thin end of the wedge is where you're not doing anything. And like, why not do something? But you see, it is hard. I totally get it. And we live in a carb-laden world. I totally get it. I do read about some people who do intermittent fasting long term. You know, they do like 20 hours. That wouldn't suit me either. So I do about 18 hours, and then I eat generally 2 meals. I've gotten sloppy recently where I kind of eat the whole way through the 6 hours, which is not really a great idea and definitely shows on the weight. But for the most part, this last bit of weight, the kind of 10 pounds that I need to lose, is definitely down to a lack of exercise. I have literally been doing zero, but I feel amazing. I feel really healthy and everything. So, yeah, so if you have any kind of health issues, if you feel depressed, if you feel anxious, you should really try the ketogenic diet, and you'll have to give it 30 days. You just have to do it, and it's flipping brilliant. And I did it at the beginning while cooking for everybody else and cooking non-keto for everybody else. I'm still cooking non-keto, but others have come on my path along behind me. And for the most part, I would say 60% of the day for those people is spent on the ketogenic diet. And the rule is no carbs for breakfast. And then recently they just stopped having breakfast. No reflection on the keto diet. But they stopped having breakfast. So now there's a bit of intermittent fasting coming along. And I have even heard one or two say that they're noticed if their blood sugar goes up. And they don't like it if it's a certain... One spoke about brownies that they used to love getting, and now they notice their blood sugar shooting up from the brownies, and they don't like it, and they're starting to realize which foods impact them the most. But no problem, I get the brownies. There's no ban on anything, because there's no ban on wine for the mammy. So anyway, so look, take care of yourselves and get going on. There's tips and tricks. You can have apple cider vinegar, a little small bit of it in water before you eat I had one for breakfast. It does make me feel better, and they say as you get older that you have less stomach acid. So it's better to have apple cider vinegar to help your stomach. And I do actually notice that it does help. And then you can have things like a shot of olive oil, which I often have. I take a good few supplements. You can see my other video for that. Actually, I could do an update today on the supplements, and sometimes I include other supplements. Occasionally, that I introduce just for a little while to help with other things. So I think supplements are very important. Like my vitamin D in my last blood results, which is my previous video, has gone from 52 to 71. 75 is the optimum. 50 is the minimum. Most people are under 50. I was at 52 the last time, so I started supplementing with vitamin D and turmeric from Tesco, and now I'm at 71. So that's brilliant. And I just I can't stop saying how amazing I feel. How I do not worry. How just everything is okay. Everything is possible. I think part of people's problem is they don't want everything to be okay. We're so used to accepting that we're going to get ill, or we're going to feel this way, or we're going to feel that way, we're going to have to get our hip replaced, or like you can rebuild your own collagen now. They've discovered that since 2005. I take collagen, and I now have zero aches and pains in any joints that I might have had. So get the information and get going, and have a look at some of my earlier videos. And there's so many other people on YouTube as well who are really, really good. Dr. Berg, Dr. Fung, Dr. Berry, Dr. Westman, Dr. Gundry. Some people don't like Dr. Gundry because he's quite vegetarian oriented and pulse oriented and stuff. And I suppose his diet to me is a slightly older person's diet. and he has gotten into that space, so that's fine. But he was a cardiac surgeon who could only see himself on the table. He was that fat, and he decided to do something about it, and then discovered keto and was like, what the hell? Of course, doctors don't want to know. Dr. Seafried, Dr. Lustig, Dr. Perlmutter, Dr. Oh, the guy who wrote, I mean, there's a brilliant book about keto reversing dementia. But if I come on YouTube and I say, oh, you can read a book and help yourself to reverse dementia, a lot of people would be like, oh, it's fake news, this, that, and the other thing. Like the reality is it's not fake news. And you could say, why did that 106-year-old lady not get dementia? I don't know. Did she have dementia? I don't know. But let's just say she ate porridge and she never got dementia. That is because she wasn't eating for 4 hours after the porridge. So she was basically intermittent fasting until the blood sugar went down. And then she was eating a big slab of meat and veg, overcooked cabbage, most likely. So who knows? Who knows? Maybe she spent the last 30 years of her life with dementia. Who knows? I don't know that woman's story. But Dr. Brettermeister. And then there's a woman, Dr. Mary, I cannot remember her surname. Her husband got dementia at the age of 50. Was he 50 or 45 or something? He was very young for getting dementia. And she noticed that coconut oil really helped. She had read somewhere about coconut oil and it really helped. And then she moved to MCT oil. Like I made a recent TikTok about MCT oil. If you have any worries about dementia and stuff, that you should give your loved one a spoon of MCT oil. But basically, you should take carbs out of their lives for a while and give their flipping body a break. Not just their pancreas, their brain, a break from the carbs and the plaquing and the shite that's going around in their blood, and give them a break and put them on. Well, I take omega-3 fish oil. I'm sure Bryan Johnson has some amazing vegan one, but from I think he has flaxseed or something. But I take omega-3 fish oil, and yeah. But that's what I would do. So, and I would put your loved one. You can reverse dementia. Look it up. It's called type 3 diabetes, and there is so much you can do. I would introduce fiber. Your family member is eating carbs, refined carbs too often, and they are, you often will notice with the people who have dementia that they are mad for bread. The more bread you can give them, the better. They're also mad for porridge, but they're mad for bread, and they will hunt down the bread because they're addicted to that sugar. It's so bad for them. Glaucoma is also considered a type of diabetes of the eye. See, diabetes can show up in different organs. So what I would do is cleanse out your body, go on keto for a month or two, do what I did at the start. I mean, look back at my videos of, I was on Instagram at the time, which I'm not that much a fan of at the moment. I've kind of gone off Instagram, but everybody seems to be on Instagram. Nobody's on Facebook, except ads. But I still go on Facebook now and again, not much. But everybody's on Instagram trying to outdo each other for photographs, which is fine. But when I started keto and nobody cared, I started putting up some videos on my Instagram account, Catherine Monaghan, KDY@gmail.com. Catherine Kate's Keto. Get it? It wasn't actually on Kate's Keto because I was using that as another one, but I have an Instagram now with Kate's Keto, but I rarely put stuff up on it. I should really. And then I was putting up videos, and I could not stop listening to Lewis Capaldi. I don't know why. Like, he's a fat guy, and there I was, like, listening to Lewis Capaldi, but it just gave me so much inspiration, kept me going. I was walking a lot. Now I had the time. I was a bit like Bryan Johnson, but I wasn't living in a mansion as big as his. But I had the time, and I said to myself, I'm going to make an investment in myself. I have some free time. I'm going to go walking, and I started doing the ketogenic diet. I swear to God, I thought I was going to give up the first day. Then I thought I was going to give up the second day. And it was literally one step, one foot in front of the other. Nothing more. It was one foot in front of the other. There was no magic. It was just literally make sure I had bought the veggies ahead of me. I even have pictures up on that. Catherine Monaghan, MONAGHAN KDY @gmail.com. Well, but that's my email address. But it's on Instagram, Catherine with a C. I don't think there's any spaces. KDY. So yeah, it was just incredible, and I felt like I was floating. It was incredible, the journey. And I had to keep saying to myself, trust the process, trust the process, trust the process, trust the process. And believe me, what kind of saved me in the early days is once in a while I would allow myself to have a Boost bar. So you can buy a 4-pack of Boost bars, and I was obsessed at the time about keeping my carbs under 20 grams. And a Boost bar you don't count the veg with the fiber. You know, like if I was having a bowl of Brussels sprouts, and that is carbs, but you don't count that for the sake of keto. But I allowed myself every couple of days maybe to have a Boost bar, which you buy a 4-pack. There's less than 20, it's exactly 19 grams of carbs in the Boost bar. And they're really tasty. So that I never have a Boost bar now, but I will at Christmas. But that was it. That was kind of how I did it. And then the odd day I'd have, white bread with butter. And less I enjoyed it, which was probably a good sign. And it didn't take me that long to get into ketosis. I didn't really know about the keto sticks at the time, but I knew that I would go through a period of probably smelling quite bad. It only happens once. If you don't ever become insulin resistant again, you'll have a very strong smell from your sweat. It's like, like what the hell? And if you lift up your arm and you sniff your armpit, you'll be like, it's so bad. Like it's going to be tangy, but it only happens once. Like people are always saying that the keto diet makes you have this smell all the time. No, it happens once. And I think it's when your body is switching over. Because other people have had the same, where they had that one couple of days of one particular day would be of absolute stink. It's brilliant. You kind of feel like your body's in full on detox, and the feeling of satisfaction is amazing. So then that became like a snowball rolling down the hill. It became bigger and bigger and easier. I wouldn't say easier and easier. Because I had started off one step at a time, I just kind of stayed going one step at a time, one step at a time, one step at a time. And my motivation, I didn't really notice the weight coming off. It was more how amazing I felt. That was the motivation switched from being kind of weight loss to this incredible feeling of soaring above the earth. I know it sounds weird. It's just unreal, the feeling of every part of your body, every organ. So then after about 8 months, I decided to do a blood test. I'd been wanting to do them for ages. I'd never had a kind of blood test done before. And I was kind of nervous because I was going, is the doctor going to think I'm weird? So I just rang the clinic and I said, I'm looking for blood tests, thinking I'd have to go to the doctor. But it turned out you can just go to the nurse. So the nurse took the bloods. And I went in with a big list. I had this like written list. And I said to her, I want this. And she was like, what the hell? Who's this fucking weirdo? She was like, I said, I'm on the ketogenic diet. At the time I was a little bit like over enthusiastic. I'm on the ketogenic diet. These are the blood tests that I'm supposed to have. Dr. Lustig has them in his book, Metabolical. What are you talking about, nurse? Haven't you read it? So she's like looking at me going, what the hell? What kind of a whack job? So she was looking up the tests. Some of them she had never even heard of, or maybe she had heard of in her training, but had never used them. So she was looking them up. And then there was some that weren't available. I did expect that, but I was a bit disappointed. So she did everything. It was amazing, brilliant. And my blood results came back and they were really good. And I said, oh my God, that's great. They were really good. And then I got them done recently again, and they were even better. I could not believe, of course they should be better, but they were even better. And my cardiovascular risk went down substantially. And it hadn't been great before. So I was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. So now I am extremely healthy on the inside. The outside doesn't really matter, because in a way, the outside, not in a way, fact, the outside is a manifestation of the inside. And if I'm carrying a little bit of extra weight, I don't really care, because that's what happens when you don't do as much exercise. Your body is designed to help you survive at times of starvation. And when you're not moving, that's what it does. But when I start moving again, it'll just smile out. But yeah, I wish everybody could do what I'm doing. But then I suppose it would be weird if we were all like stomping streets, pounding the pavement, being amazing, and being so fit and healthy. Like that would be boring too. So we probably need a few, unhealthy people around, and fat people and skinny, unhealthy people. One of my things would be like the rise in cancer in young people. Like, why would you want that? And like Dr. Fung, Jason Fung, he's written a book about hyperinsulinemia. Ben Bickman, please. He has released a book on July 11th. Dr. Ben Bickman, he's a scientist, not a medical doctor, but he is just as good. In fact, probably better than most fucking medical doctors between ourselves. But anyway, well, let's be fair. Medical doctors are not trained in prevention. They're trained in dealing with the situation as it's presented. So that's fair enough. And they generally deal with medicine. So we can't really criticize the medical profession. So Dr. Ben Bickman, he just released a book on July 11th. It says, How Not to Get Sick. I would advise anybody to get it. He's an incredible guy, Dr. Ben Bickman. So, and there's so many other doctors who I've not mentioned, either doctors by way of PhD, Dr. Nick Norwitz. He's the latest kid on the block that's trying to promote keto. He solved his own Crohn's. I think it's Crohn's or colitis. He had he was being hospitalized the whole time. He was actually very skinny, but he was in hospital the whole time. And he then discovered keto, and he's not only completed a PhD now in metabolic health, but he has started a medical degree in Harvard. I think he's finishing this year. Dr. Nick Norwitz, Nicknor, I think it's TWIZ or something. Anyway, Dr. Nick Norwitz, you'll find him on YouTube. He is doing some, he's a high cholesterol, high something responder. I can't remember what it is now, but it's when people who have been on keto a while and they have extremely high cholesterol, but they're extremely healthy. They've just completed a study, I don't know if the results are out yet, where they have proven that having high cholesterol is no problem. LDL is considered the bad cholesterol. LDL has 80% of LDL is good. Only 20% of it is bad, roughly around 20%. 20% is kind of the low density lipoprotein, they're called. So you want the large buoyant. So if you're on the ketogenic diet, almost all your LDL is large buoyant. The rest is only bad if you're eating a lot of carbs and you've got the small dense particles which are getting in between your tight junctions in your intestines. So my cholesterol is on paper is high, not as high as hyper lean responder or something. That's what he is. Not as high as Nick Norwitz, but my cholesterol is high. I'm really happy with that because it's my triglyceride to HDL ratio is what I take into account for my cardiovascular risk. And like I have an aunt who had a massive stroke and a massive heart attack. A heart attack about maybe 5 years before the stroke, and then passed away from stroke. That's your arteries being completely blocked. I don't want that. I'm going to age one way or the other. My body is going to sag. Bits and pieces of me are going to not be in the place that I wish they were. But I couldn't give a shit about that because at least I'll be ticking over as well as I can. I will be at my optimum level. Well, not as good as Bryan Johnson, but close. I'll be at my optimum level. But I'll be able to enjoy a glass of wine, whereas poor old Bryan Johnson will be going to bed at 7 p.m. after a lovely bowl. I think he eats his last meal at 11 a.m. because he does a lot of fasting. No. That's never happened to me. So, what's out there? Oh, some seats. Anyway, so I know I'm rambling on for ages. It's just that kind of day, that kind of mood, you know. I was going to go and get a bottle of wine, but I just drank my polyphenols, which is my coffee, my fresh coffee. Oh, that's not finished. So give it a try. Follow me on, well, the Instagram, I don't really use it for thing, but if you want, Catherine Monaghan, KDY, on Instagram, or follow this channel, and I'm on TikTok, Kate's Keto as well. So you get some inspirational short videos to help you, and I will do a supplements update. Have a lovely day. It's such a shitty day. It deserves a long video. Love you guys. Hang on, let's get this right. There you go.